Let's see if this works. So far, so good. Don't know if I can be heard. I can't hear myself. This thing low again. Do. I don't know why sometimes though this thing is loud, sometimes it's low, sometimes I'm loud, sometimes I'm low. Can never be the right sound. Hmm. Do. Hmm. Was rearranging everything on screen though, including adding a little character on screen as well. Just basically a temporary one, supposedly the logo of sorts. So it may be there longer than care for, maybe not. Who knows? Yeah, went and got something to drink over here. Unfortunately, all I have at the moment that's not water is Diet Ocean Spray, Cran Blackberry. Blech. Oh well, might be a little expired. I'm still twitching for now, and I don't mean because of the, well, I'm still standing, but I'm sitting too. Do 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 do. I just like how the Raptor looks like it's just looking at the character over here. And as you can tell in the upper left hand corner, though, it's the time now. Once again, like I was saying earlier, though, didn't say it as loud, though, because something else goes in the room and they rather want to talk too. So, anyways, character on the bottom, though, is the one that I also currently use as one of the Twitch emotes, just minus popcorn. It's simple and so forth. And on the little cheap side there because I'm just reusing the same dang thing, just minus popcorn. Well. Okay, so previously, last time, not used, but did the leaves. I didn't do much after I got off. Eventually I will. For this, I still haven't really fully decided of I'm going to do this though. I need to put those lines back though so I can use as a guide. But as for this, I'm still leaning towards having it more like peeled bark in a way. So something like this, using this wide brush. And seeing how there's no issues with streaming right now, no drop frames and such, I don't see how long this lasts. 5 seconds later, a world! Yep, and knew that was going to last long. Okay, put a little bit over here. I forgot I didn't turn. No, that is not a brush. I mean, that is a brush, but it's not the brush I'm looking for. That is a brush, but it's not big enough brush. That brush is not working because the stylus is not working. That is close, but not dark enough. There we go. Sometimes I wish I can get rid of this tiny little dot over here. That's supposed to be the quick menu there. But I don't want to keep cropping and zooming the main image over here, so it's unfortunately going to have to do. I'm going to increase the size of this a bit though. I need to get some of this lighter shade over here. Lighter shade. This lighter color over here if I'm going to make it look like peeled wood. Put it over here by using a wide brush. Then taking this, lifting it upwards a bit. Over here, blend it up a bit. I put it here. Similar to what I did right over here, I'm going to have to straighten it out a bit. I really need to find me a decently priced tablet here. Oh well. It's only 5 pennies off. I don't want it. Too much. Okay, leave that like there though, because I need that for like a shadowing though. Switch over here to the wash brush. Then pull it upwards like so. Increase the diameter of it. Can you believe that this month is almost over? Says everybody every time they ask it though, because it seems like they always do it. Okay, go over here, grab this colorization right here. Pull up over here a bit. A little bit over here. Go over here, go over here. Or not. Go over here, lighten it up a little bit though. Go back over here. Mix it up a bit though and see and hope that it works. Although it shouldn't be that white. Okay. Mm-hmm. Once again, it's going to be similar to the head there. I'll kind of have this peeled bark look to it though. Sheds off this bark of it as it grows. Won't it hurt it? Yeah, not really. Unless it shouldn't. Pull it up like so. You know what I kind of miss? Of course, no one would know. It's collaborations, though. I've only done like 3 over the many years I've been arting along. Not to be confused, though, with the a previously mentioned thing where I was working on a picture that would have been a 3-parter to somebody else's picture, some bodies, 2 others, I should say. That was more like me just butting in somebody's way, kind of. I mean, they were well aware of it, though. But no, that's not what I'm talking about. Not that particular one. No, I'm not talking about filling in somebody's line art there, though, because it's one of those free to use. That's not exactly collaboration. If that was the case, though, imagine all the people say, I collaborated with this artist because I bought their coloring book. So, yeah, that's not exactly a collaboration. Blah, blah, blah. It's May right now. A month and a half from now, it's going to be Art Fight 2025. In other than 1 year since I joined up in 2019, man, time flies. Every team I've been on, except for that one, like I just stated though, was a winner. Which reminds me, as of this recording, I need to go change up some things over there at the gallery in my profile though. I think it was starting last year, 2024, I went and made a table and some chairs and some, no, not that kind of table. I put a table in the Art Fight main profile page there to indicate new characters, characters who haven't been quote attacked though, and other little fun tidbits or two though. I was hoping that would help some people if they ever look at my profile there and to determine though if there's anybody needs a picture of some kind. I know everybody's usually has their own methods of how they want somebody to do stuff for them. It's like, this is the character I need stuff for though, which ends up being that character having a lot more than any other character, which makes me wonder why even post those characters that don't have anything that you don't really want them to pay attention to then. Look at this character, it's cool and such. Do not draw it. I'm thinking, then why are you showing it off though in a gallery that is indicating though that you want somebody to draw a picture of? I know not everybody does that though, but I've came across 2 of them like that. And as a reminder though, until then, or good lord, somebody's zooming in the background over here. That for art fight there, you want to, if you want anybody to draw your character or characters though, or in some cases though, your pet, please be sure to pick a team because anybody who doesn't pick a team though will be neutral there and will be unable to be quote attacked. Which means if you're expecting anything in return, though, and not just posting it up like a art gallery, then yeah. Because if you're neutral, though, no one will be able to give you anything, though, and you'll be wondering, why ain't nobody give me anything? I knew it. This thing was a scam. You have to be on a team. It doesn't matter if it's one team or the other team, as long as you're on a team, though, because they still allow people to quote friendly fire. Granted, they won't get many points, though, but still. I stated this before because there were some over the 5 years I've been doing this, and the people have been doing it longer. But over the 5 years I've been doing art fight there, I came across at least 3 or 4 interesting characters. I said, "Oh, this looks pretty cool," and nope, didn't pick a team. Which means, well, maybe next time. The next year, from the point I first seen it though, they were still active, but they still didn't pick a team. People, art fight, while it does contain a gallery up to 100 characters, is not your personal gallery to show things off. It is meant to be a gallery to show potential characters that somebody could draw of. Characters. So, once again, though, if you're expecting any artwork of characters, though, be sure to use it. Be sure to be on a team. It's like there are some sites that having quote issues. They call it an issue. That people are using it for something that it shouldn't be. I'm not saying something bad or I recently came across a notification though on the website called Flickr, which is basically a photo website. There you can post stuff, photo related and such. But they noticed that people were uh, just basically using it as cloud storage, even though it's ironic considering it is listed as cloud storage. Okay then. Basically, it's a place there where you want to show off photos that you're taking of, like, oh, look, there's some geese that I took of in this park, or oh, look, this cool looking train bridge, or look at this awesome wildflower, something like that, though. Kind of like those websites that host people's photos and such. But they did notice that people were just taking photos of whatever they're like, maybe their vacation, or maybe them and their cool shirts and such, or random things that doesn't really benefit anybody other than scrapbook time. And because of this, though, I think either this week in May or next, sometime in this month, though, unless I already done it, though, anybody who does not pay for a subscription membership, I forget what it was, though. Basically, anybody who's in the free mode there will be very limited, though. The size of their photos will be drastically reduced there. They will only be able to post a certain amount of photos. Like a yeesh. Once again, that website called Flickr. At one point, I think it was by Yahoo. Might still be. Anyways, though, so yeah, they do clarify that's not a gallery for like that either. Which reminds me, though, I need to go get some of those photos. Not photos, but some of the files out of their art files, though, because many years ago, uh, that there used to be a website known as e-groups there, which is basically email group service though, where you can find your groups there, hang out, talk. You can set it up though to where you can get emails every time somebody comments, which was a hassle if you had more than 50 people talking all at once, because your inbox would be, well, depending on what thing that you have for your email service, though, it might get full pretty fast. Phone. One moment. I gotta like it though. Whenever somebody needs to be contacted, though, they don't have a phone because they don't like phones. Okay. But anyway, so there was a group called E Groups, though, and then eventually that was taken over by Yahoo. It became Yahoo Groups there, and they eventually closed the website down within about 2 years of getting it. But before they did, I was able to manage to save some of the files that people had over there because when I first joined up with eGroups, though, I came across one group there that was basically supposed to be an art group, though, but yet it was during the heyday of where everybody's OC was based on Sonic. Yes, everybody in their Sonic OCs there, or the style of Sonic, though. Because it was like the late 90s, early 2000s, where everybody must have a Sonic OC whether they like it or not. Eventually, people branched out and discovered how to do their own styles that didn't involve the Sonic Adventures art style. I remember, what was it? Years after that, though, people would say, "Hey, you want to see how you look like a Sonic character? Type in your name or your username, though, and the hedgehog, and then you'll see it." I'm like, oh boy. Good thing I never did that though, because just because. Anyways, and eventually those people had a little spin-off group though that was supposed to be an RPG group though, and boy was that something though. That's like the fun, but yet not so fun, depending on how you look at it though. The group was an RPG group though, but imagine a D&D session though. You have 5 people trying to do an adventure though, and then imagine another group of 5 people doing an adventure. Okay, now take the 5 group on one side, take the 5 group on the other side, and put them on the same table, and have them do their storylines at the same time while on the same table. So you have 10 people, 2 groups are doing their own stories there, own RPG there, and yeah, I don't remember if there was a way to separate separate though the I don't know if there was a way to separate the emails messages though, to where one group would get their messages and the other group would get their messages. It's like, hey, this person is saying something about this person's character though. Okay, congratulations, I'm doing my own little adventures over here. But you need to know. So RPG group there, where you have multiple groups storyboarding at the exact same time, was not fun. It was interesting, but not fun. Like before it got closed down and people went their own separate ways into their own equivalent of a sunset, there was like at least 3 storylines that never got completed though, that was supposed to be at the same time, and it was sucky though because I was going to introduce a new character of mine. The thing is though, never got around to it. It's like imagining watching a TV series. They build up hype for a new cool character, and they might change the way things are, and the show gets canceled. Yeah, that's how it is. No, I had this awesome idea for this cool character. Well, I try to save as much of the emails as I could though, but when you have a group of, I want to say 25 at least though. By the way, I was using the 5 per group though as an example though, but I think it was like at least 25 people though. Some people would eventually leave and go and so forth though. And now imagining that they were constantly emailing though, like, turn-based storytelling like you expect. So and so says something about this character, fills in the paragraph, what they're doing, and then wait till the next person responds back there. Man, it's just writing a book there. See, with RPGs though, like tabletop games like such as Dungeons and Dragons though, you don't have to write the whole damn story though. You're there already with the people. You move your little tokens or your maps, you write down your stats there. But with the e-group slash Yahoo groups though, doing an RPG via messaging though. Yikes! And the thing is, it wasn't one of those. It wasn't one of those websites where you could do RPGs there because you can write down the stats, whatever. It just okay. We have some files over here, information, characters, whatever. Put your character over there and whatever stats there, and let's tell a story though. So it ends up being more like a campfire story though, but you're writing it out. It just at points it became convoluted. But depending on how you look at it though, it kind of was fun. Unfortunately, some people did get upset though because the usual. Oh, it's my turn to say something though. Oh, but it's my turn to say about this. Hey, what about this though? And there were times though in which people did. Well, one person at least did though. It was the brother of the sister that was running the group, where he did a map. So it's pretty much like D&D and such, where there was a mapping of the world. Hand drawn map though. This was before. Well, not before because I'm pretty sure it was also taking place though. You could have done it though, but nobody used one of those map making type services though, where you import certain data there, landmarks and whatever though, because I was constantly evolving though. The thing that got me though is that no one could figure out well the theme, the theming, the I'm not gonna say genre, but uh, hmm. the way things are supposed to be, the layout, the motif, whatever. Like I know in Dungeons and Dragons, it's usually a kind of a fantasy medieval type setting, so with maybe some steampunk elements, depending how you look at it, though. But this one was like current day, but let's some minor steampunk elements there, some magical things there, some computer science. I'm thinking, did you just? It's kind of like you get the grab bag, so to speak, the leftovers, and it's like, yep, here, holding a bag and saying, this is the leftovers from everybody else's cool stuff there, and just run with it. There was a lot of characters that were anthropomorphic animals. There were some few human characters there. There were some cyborgs in there, or android-looking ones there. There was some dragons in there. I'm thinking, I don't even know what the genre was. What at times were. So yeah, I'm surprised that group even lasted 3 years. So the way it did before it eventually closed down too. The thing is though, is that I still more or less I don't constantly contact these people though, but I do see the former members once in a great while. But yeah, both groups, so the art group and the RPG equivalent group though, had some art files there, and I unfortunately I wasn't able to save them all, but I did save a decent chunk. And this just leads back into the website Flickr though. And it wasn't until last year that I remembered my account information though, so I was able to save some of the information on that website though, as well as get back some of the information that I had on there. Some of the, but yeah, there was so much going on at the time though. I have one of those big binders you could like buy at Walmart that was normally used for like people that would buy cards and would put like the card sleeve pages in there. Yeah, it was those big old binders. I don't know if I still have it near me. No, that's a small binder. Like you put like 100 pages in there of the, well, more than 100 pages of the card holder page, but for actual pages, so yeah, you can put a lot on there. You can make it a whole dang story there. Before eventually I had my own computer or an access to a computer that didn't involve me going to the town library though. Had to I didn't have to though, but I went and printed out every single thing though, every single email. And once again, when you have at least 25 people and about 15 of those people talking and such at the same time, though, then that's a lot of emails. Plus, in my case, though, with the town library, though, there was a time limit, though, of how long you can stay on the computer, which is what they changed it between 20 to 30 minutes, I want to say. So, trying to do all that, though, trying to get the files there, trying to save said files, though, trying to print out said files, ooh, became a hassle. And just to think, though, I was not the secretary or the person in charge of keeping files. The archivist. There, that's what I meant. But ironically, and also suiting, though, since I was in a library, it did fit the theming over there. And ever since that, though, I have never done any more RPGs, though. Not that I'm saying I don't want to do RPGs, not counting World of Warcraft, not that kind. I mean, it technically is an RPG, but more like the make up your own story there, and not some pre-made thing there. Let's see what it does right here. And even though I brought up the subject of Dungeons and Dragons, depending on how you look at it, though, may or may not be a fun fact, though. I still never done Dungeons and Dragons. The sad story is that there was a store over in the town nearby, I think about 10 minutes away, called Hastings. Though it's one of those stores where you can buy music, movies, books, board games, video games. I forgot what kind of store that's called. Though it's one of the media type stores. And I went and bought me the Advanced Dungeon Dragons little box kit though for beginners, just to get an idea of how things ran. And then despite that, and the box more or less still being over here though, I think it had been crushed a few times when moving stuff around. I still never did D&D. I'm like, oh, that's a cool sketch of a weird duck rabbit thing. What is it? But despite that though, I still have stories to do there. I used to like doing stories there that would take place during the RPG days though. In fact, though, the person who used to run the both the art and RPG group, though, which was cleverly named the same thing, except for just throwing the word RPG. They used to do a Halloween contest, at least for 3 years on Deviant Art. The winner would get like a little free art from them, though, which would be maybe the equivalent of $5 worth, or £5, though, because they're from England. Prices did vary when it came to exchange rates. And the thing is, I used to like doing stories though, and end up getting close to winning their little contest though with one story. It was one of those stories though where it would feed, uh, would feel like some mild unease, though, but nothing that would make you go and cry home to mommy. There, basically, no blood, no violence, or anything like that. It was just suspense. I don't think I ever finished that thing though. It was supposed to be more continuation though. There was one time though, I would base a story off of an actual thing at the library. And by thing, I meant a random door in a wall that's only about, I want to say about 2 inches thick or less, that led nowhere. Sad to say though, that door has been long since we moved after they renovated it a couple of years ago. So, and I wasn't there at the time, so I didn't know they renovated it until a few years later, which will be this year now, and discover it's no longer in the wall. So I think, but that was the whole motif. It's supposed to bring in some weird. What in the world is that for? What was funny though is the fact that the librarians that were working there at the time didn't even know where the door led to either, though, because no one thought about opening it, though. The thing is, the door wasn't exactly available to open without moving a bookshelf that was placed in front of it. It was one of these old wooden bookshelves. Well, I mean, it still looks good for the age it is. But yeah, nobody knew what it was for, though. You would think maybe it was a supply closet, but considering how thick the wall is, as I mentioned, though, it was like 2 inches or less, though. Basically, if you look at a door frame, though, and see the thickness of it, though, when you would think there's no way it can put anything in there except for a tiny little thing, though, or it's wide enough to put like one door. But yet, this wall, as thin slash thick it was, though. So I decided one year, though, while that person was doing their Halloween thing, though, make a story about it, though. Not just about the door, though, but what was behind the door that wasn't really there. I want to say, though, despite me and my misspellings, though, I think it did well enough. Maybe some interest, though. Thankfully, I did take a picture, and going back again to the Flickr website there, I did manage to save the photo over there because DeviantArt at the time did allow people who did literature, though, to also put a photo alongside with their stories and such. They also used to be able to put like I want to say like kind of like bookmarks in a way, though, that was also had images, but they long since got rid of that idea. So now if I was to go over there, there's no more photo there, and if I want to make any edits, I would have to completely redo the whole thing, though, because they long since have a new um, coding program that they do, though. Yeah, and I don't want to risk ruin that, though, because the moment you hit save, whether it be purposely or accidentally, though, then everything's changed and might contain broken stuff, broken coding there. They even warn you, though, if you do anything with it, though, the coding might end up being broken. So I'm going to be like, yeah, look, don't touch. At least until I can find a way to save it there without ruining it, though. But the reason I say it was a good thing that I did put the photo also on Flickr, though, because when I did not know they were going to remove that aspect of literature on their website to where it no longer had photos on there, which is dumb, but oh well. Kind of expected nowadays. I need to get this color and make it a little darker. Also, by the way, the oops. Also, by the way, though, the folder not only had the stories and such there from the RPG, though, but also had another folder, a little bit smaller one, though, that had game codes and such. Because yes, while it was the really trendy time to start going on the internet to look up stuff, because it was getting there to the point where video game magazines and game guides were slowly dying and being phased out. I would go to websites like GameFAQs and such, and would also print off their fun little stuff there too. I remember, though, printing out at least 20 to 30 pages just for the game of Dragon Warrior, number 3 and number 4. I never did play number 2. And yes, I did say Warrior, though, because due to some issues at the time with Nintendo, Nintendo themselves, though, but Enix, before it eventually merged to Square and became Square Enix, another company was using the name Dragon Quest. At least that's what the story went, though, and it was called Dragon Warrior, though. But anyways, my point is, though, was also that folder had those game information, stories, and so forth. But yeah, and here's the not so fun part, though. so many pages having to print out though, filling out this huge folder though. Each page, even though it seems like cheap though, 10 cents though. I did over 1,000, so yeah, people can do the math on that. It's still not as much as you would think though, but when you basically have pocket change at the time though, yay for archiving. Come on. I still kind of want to do like some kind of RPG tabletop thing though, but I would have to find people though because yeah. But despite that though, I kind of also want to be like dungeon master too though. But see how much work they have to do. Yikes. Plus, could also do some random voices there too though. Hmm. Here's a fun little thing though, depending on if you consider it fun though. I guess it's safe for it now though, for me to say this. Not a super secret though. It was a kind of secret though at the time. But before Yahoo was eventually telling everybody who used their email group service there they were closing down, I was planning to do a little project involving the one segment of the story for the RPG group though that involved an arena by making a model that they could use, but I never got around to it. Oh yeah, another genre I like to throw in that group though, that RPG group. Besides these science, steam, fantasy, and everything else, I forgot there was apparently some aspect of Western in her too. Because why not? I'm surprised at the time they didn't throw a whole trope of Japanese stuff in there while they're at it too. Considering it was during a time period though where Toonami and all those other anime things were really taking off. Chinchi Muyo. Wow. What was funny though is there was a character I still have. I don't use. He just there waiting. There's a character I came up with though, made named Stan. The funny thing is though, he wasn't really around until after the fact. He was like one of those characters in the random stories that we had though that just there. But the thing is though, he has a at the time it was supposed to have been a younger brother though. The funny thing is though, no one made any connections though to the younger brother though, despite the name that I gave him, which was of Winston. Now, if anybody knows anything though, they put those two names together though, and they would get a certain person that's well known in the visual effects industry, which would be Stan Winston, who's known to do visual effects for various movies such as Terminator and such. They have a visual effects school as of this recording, and I thought that would have been a fun thing though. Unfortunately, though, while I did manage to have a character reference of the character Stan, I never did made one for Winston. Once again, this was been the younger brother. I didn't make reference to him, however, though, because there are some earlier images of the character. Once again, though, this RPG world is supposed to be anthropomorphic animals, though, and I figured, okay, let's just go with Meerkat because why not? And the thing is, though, there's few references to the quote little brother though, such as the small skateboard that uh, I ended up drawing though. It's supposed to be a typical full size skateboard though, but apparently I didn't size it properly, so it ended up being one of those small skateboards like little kids would play around with though. So I just said, this is little brothers. Of course, it wouldn't have been until a few years after drawing that character out though, which was drawn out years after the group closed. It wouldn't have been years until years later though that it did end up with a character named Winston though. No connection whatsoever to the previous character of Stan, other than the fact that he's actually a hybrid, and one of the hybrids that makes up him though is the same as Stan, which would be once again a meerkat. However, though, as I progress in my own personal storylines though, and lore and such about my characters, because who doesn't make lore about their characters? The moment you have an idea though, draw a quick sketch there, you already can tell people, say, this is so and so, this is what they do though. You see it all started, and you basically just tell them the whole background. But the thing is though, I decided to go ahead and use that name for this new character, this hybrid character. So despite the background history of those two there, almost dating back, geez, what was it, early 2000s? Time flies. But yeah, no connection. Also, I want to mention though that the that Stan though, and by way of this character, are no longer seen as well meerkats though. In fact, they are a different species altogether now. I mean, they still have remnants of it though, but they're now more of a original species there. That's just based off of them instead. And I've already did a video of me working on such species as well. Let me take a little break here though. Turn this off. Also, just in case, I'm gonna rotate this though, save it. Let's see, hold on here. No, I don't want to listen to news radio right now. Just send me a notification though saying this thing is on. Okay, go over here. Where are you at? I like how oh, I have this character. And where is he? Oh, that's right. It's in the sketchy stuff though. It's in the quote nature sketch. But yeah, it would be one of these creatures over here though, because as I mentioned before, now it's giving me the overloading. What do you mean overloading? Now you telling me it's overloading after almost an hour? I mentioned this before when I was working on this though, which I need to redo this one too. That this, in fact, this creature right here, in fact, is the modified version that eventually became original species that was originally loosely based on meerkats though, but now it's more based on how this one artist did of my character Stan, who used to be the meerkat, and the artist is somebody that also came from the original art group. Man, that's a lot of taking though. So yeah, like I said though, I still have some contacts with people from the former art group though. It was, I think it was 2 years ago. I'm not going to look it up right now on the computer right now because I know if I do, the OBS programming will frown upon that and will decide it needs to close. So you got to bear with me. Although I could pull it up on my side panel over here though, but it would be 90-degree angles facing left instead, so I'd be counterclockwise. Anyways, Yeah, so I had the character stand for a very long time. They'd done the character before, though. It wasn't until 2 years as of this recording, though, they redone the character because I've redone my own character, though. And that's why they no longer look like the animal they're originally based on, which would be Meerkatso, which would have a pointed triangular nose, except right here, though, which is needs to be make some minor adjustments, though. Now it's got a more broader muzzle there. It's similar to a basic dogs or canines there. It has more of a bushy tail, though, instead of the tapered one, though. But I did point this out that while originally, though, the character, and by way of character also the species, though, originally had the typical ring around the eyes like you would see for those animals there, I eventually would, quote, remove said eye rings, though, which is interesting, though, because they're still typically around the same size of the animals, though, and same coloring, though, but don't have that. However, though, if people wants to put them on there, though, because I'm not going to remove them from older references, because those references are actually better than what I did at the time. So it's either or, though. If they want to put the little eye ring around the eyes there or not, they're free to do so. But for the creature, the feral version, though, there is no eye ring around it, though. Although I think I need to put like an eyebrow on it. It's one of those fake looking eyebrows that, like, whenever you look at a dog there, they have the eyebrow looking coloring on their head there. Like, oh, it must be an eyebrow. And that's not an eyebrow. It's just a pattern that makes it look like that. But I know I mentioned this before, though, but I did re- retain some of the elements that the person did for that character and then just apply it over here, though. Except for the torn ear, because this is a feral creature. It gets into fights there, and injuries will occur. I mentioned this before in a prior video, though, too. There, the tail is now more of a brush type tail, though, where it is a little thick, though, gets thinner in the middle there, but it fluffs up. I guess you want to say, kind of think of it like Smeargle in a way, except for without the painting aspect. That's why I call it a paintbrush tail. Now the thing is, though, I did mention this in prior videos when I was working on this, though, which I'm still trying to export to YouTube, but as of this recording, Twitch is having issues with that, and I will have to probably download my own videos to upload the videos into YouTube. So yay, extra process. Anyways, I definitely need to clean that up some more, though. But I did mention that there are different various patterns on the animal's back, though. In this case, though, this would be, well, even though it's just triangular striping, though, it's supposed to be more of a typical stripe. So I did note it, though, when I was looking up some photo references, and I made sure there were actual photo references and not AI. Ooh, look, it looks so real photos either, though. But I did look at some actual photo references, though, and apparently I didn't notice this too. There, noted it and noticed that the patterns on some of the animals' backs, so it's not always stripes; they're more like spotted as well. And that's why I decided to keep elements of the meerkat, so and apply it to this animal as well. And I forgot I need to add whiskers. That looks better than the little tiny lines on her. I know I did make some though. Ow. Yeah, I put this tiny little bitty lines. Okay, I had to make sure about it though. As of right now, though, there is only two main ones, though, based on the region or biome where they live at. Maybe I should make a third one. It's like a rocky or though, but this would be more suited to the savanna and open plains type fields, like you would expect an actual meerkat, though. And there's the other one where it's going to be much more fuzzier because it lives in cooler climates and it's going to be a little bit more wider. Let's see, what was those? What was it? A minx? No, was it a minx? So, was it a weasel? It was one of those animals there that changes its fur color depending on the temperature or its time of year, though. It a little bit brownish there, but once it becomes winter, though, it becomes more whiter. I know it's a fox. There's a fox that does that, though, but it wasn't that one. It was something smaller. But yeah, this is the animal species, though. I've mentioned before, though, that derived from what Stan used to be. Well, is now, not used to be. And like I said already earlier, though, that already has more or less lore to these creatures, though. The interesting thing, though, this is not what Winston is. However, he's still, like I said, he is a hybrid, and so he is part of this creature, though, and apparently he's part human. Because people need these quote satyr-looking characters where they're half human, half animal. They're in bipedal, pedal. Not to be confused with centaurs, which is quadrupedal. Yeah, that's why the and there goes the motorcycle. So basically, think human with the lower half of this creature's body, though, which I need to update that because he still looks like a damn human with meerkat body, or at least lower half. Don't worry, it's fully clothed there, so modesty, which is weird. Not because of the modesty part though, but when it comes to anthropomorphic animals, you got to. Some people do think about how clothing would work on them though, and not to overheat them. And yes, I did get bored one day though, and messed around with that stupid AI chat program though, and surprisingly, it did agree on the clothing does need to be light for any anthropomorphic animals and not to overheat them. Yay, something that actually works. But I did make some footwear for them though. I noted this before though, in which when it comes down to footwear for anthropomorphic animals, it tends to vary with the artists and such. I gotta go back to my Raptor though, because some people would either. I want to keep mentioning this, by the way. Some people would make footwear that would be completely covered or cuffs. Basically, just take your sock there, cut basically the foot of it though until you basically get the top part of your sock, and there you go. Just do that with shoes instead. That's why I went ahead and did the whole footwear that would be a little bit more suited for anthropomorphic animals who has uh, digit-grade feet, aka tiptoes there. At least that I have a story with that though. It's more of a flexible material though that allows them to well, flex their feet, open-toed there, Velcro across the feet. I know I've seen some people already did something like that though, and I didn't see the date stamp though, so I'm not saying nobody. I'm not saying anybody took the idea from me though. I'm just saying it's not commonly seen as often. It's either what I previously stated though, completely cover the feet though, straps, or the cuffs. Looking at you, Blizzard. I did note it several times though that Blizzard likes to do mostly the cuffs. I mean, yay, it saves some resources though because you don't have to fully cover the foot. I'll leave that right there because it's going to look like it's going to be peeling off a bit. Okay, stupid charger. I have to reset my charger. There we go. The funny thing is, I like to say funny thing a lot, that's what. The thing is, when it comes down to the character of Winston, though, the human animal over there. Uh, as weird as well, maybe not super weird because it does happen though. But the thing is though, is despite seeing people all the time, I'm one of those people that just can't draw people's faces. I draw it and it looks like no. What sucks though, I can just stare at a photo of site profile of a person. I'm like, no, still looks horrible. Granted, it won't look as bad as the one person who tried to do their um, the renovation of the one artwork though was supposed to be of Jesus, but ended up looking like a monkey. Yikes! Now that was embarrassing. Okay, maybe I just need to just erase her. I remember taking art class though, and there was an art project to go on. I'm like, what do I do? I know what. I'll just look in a magazine advertisement for a Philips CD. There was a picture of a woman site profile looking at said CD. I'm like, okay, I'll just do that though. Even looking at a huge, well, not huge, but even looking at this clear image of a woman looking at a Philips Magnavox CD, seeing the nice details in the silhouette, I still messed that up. It's like I'm so bad though that even if I was to trace it, I'm bad, and I still make it look horrible. And you'd be wondering, how do you even mess up a trace? Yep, there's me. I messed up a trace. By the way, I didn't trace. I'm just using an example of how bad I am when drawing people. All you have to do is follow the line. I did follow the line. Why does it look like somebody threw it in a blender then? I threw it in a blender. And I don't mean the art program of the same name, which wasn't around at the time when I was in high school. Of course, if I ever try to do Blender, though, it'll probably look like I did put it in a actual blender. An actual blender without the top properly secured, and which would cause it to go all over the place. Did you not properly secure it? Maybe. .com. I like the way this looks like though. So I'm gonna go with the theme over here. You know, despite the fact that I keep going into art classes and such, I'm always be the one that just was lazy about it. It's like, yeah. I did the basic stuff. I did the pottery of stuff. I did funny little sketches that everybody else did a million times. Though, blah blah blah. The thing is, I was actually interested in it, but I wasn't interested in it at the same time. I'm also the person that would supposedly stay up at night though, and then eventually fall asleep in middle of class. Heck, I didn't even do any crummy doodling drawings though until 6 years after I left school. I think. I don't know. No, wait, it could have been 6 years. It had been with the same time frame though. So maybe about 2 years. Then I started doing crummy drawings. I say crummy drawings though. I had to use an. I didn't have to though, but I used a mech pencil number 5.5 and later 7 and then later 9 and then 1.1 because at the time my mom went and bought some pencils that she thought I could use. Though did not realize that they were, to me, they were big. I could have just used a regular wooden pencil, but whatever. And then later on, I went and bought my own drafting pencil, which is one of the smallest leads you can get, of 0.3 millimeters. Yikes! It says drafting though, but some people used it for what I used it for in art. because there's something about getting slight details. I mentioned it several times before, though, about the story about how I got that was from the local store uptown over here, which sold the lead but not the pencil itself. So yeah, that made sense. I will sell you the thing, but I will not sell you the thing it goes into. How does that work again? Oh well, it's not like I was buying something unlawful there, something bad that requires ammunition. Huh? I'm thinking, really? I have to buy the pencil separately, and in order for me to buy it, I have to buy it from your catalog. I need to make this more flared up, though. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this once again, though. But right now, update on the Root Raptor, though. I need to apply more of the colorization on it, though, too. Let's see. I need to get rid of this thing, if anything, though, because it just doesn't look right, though. See, can I do it right now while I'm at it? While I'm thinking about it? I got so many layers. I don't remember where these layers go to or how to get to those layers. It should be leaves, body. Was it the body? Oh boy. Oh, that's not good. Uh oh. Uh oh. Okay, so genius me apparently placed that within the same layer as the roots themselves. Oops. This pepper look over here, that is. Well, time to stare at the wall and contemplate my life's decision now. Oh well, I can fix that though. I'll just have to, yeah, one of those things. And where's that blender at, by the way? I can fix it. I can fix it. 5 seconds later. I cannot fix it. It's too late. It's doomed. It's the end of the world as we know it. Hmm. Well, I'm thinking about it, amongst other things. Um, I want to actually start a little bit on this though. So I will stare at it intensely until something comes to mind. 5 years later. Nope. Um, it's a plant creature though. It has claws. And what would be the equivalent of claws in plants? Claws. Claws and effects. That's right. Thorns. So what I'm going to do is do this. And realize it's too dark. Because the background's too dark. Yay, logic! And not logic tech. Okay, go over here, make this gray. Move my keyboard because it's hitting everything. Make sure I'm on the right one. Okay, I did start another layer. How many layers do I have now? 53, not as many as that other one I showed off. That was like almost 100. Gotta remember, when it comes down to certain art programs, though, the more layers you got, though, the smaller your canvas is. I got that backwards. How does that go? Strike it, reverse. Okay, so basically, the bigger your file is, or the less layers that you have. I'm gonna have to switch brushes now. That's a pencil. Granted, I did switch a brush. I hear somebody outside. Be right back. I have to mute myself though because somebody's trying to call on the phone and it gets loud. Looks like I'm turning into red over here though because it's dropping frames. Uh, so I might have to end this. Yeah. So right there, you can briefly see that it's turning red, which I need to hurry up. Yeah, it's going too slow though. So that is all for now. I'll be back maybe later tonight though, or not though. You can see with the timestamp over there wherever I place it. Who knows where it's gonna be at though. That is all for now. Thanks for watching, and the usual things. It's red. Oh well. Later. 3, 2, 1.